Okay, so we made a lot of headway with all the stuff exploding out of the ground, but why not add a little bit of extra to the ground itself? So I'm going to turn these off for a moment. We've got our ground. It's flat, of course. What we might want to do, instead of, let's say, digging out holes in the ground where the lasers hit, let's kind of make little rings of jagged debris kind of layered on, like kind of pointing up, pointing out, and a little bit of like brown in the center. Just something nice and subtle that we can put on top to make it look like the ground has been affected, in addition to debris being thrown out of the ground. So let's make a helper geometry thing here. It's gonna be set up kind of like this debris here, where we're gonna render a bunch of different versions of this, and then instance them to those points that are on the ground. So let's get in there. Now, like I said, I would like to do kind of a ring of geometry pointing out of the ground. And we could probably use the tube, or I'm going to use this with a torus. So I figure I'm going to lock this here for a second. This is, way too big. Remember the lasers come down, they hit the ground, and even just for some perspective, if I turn this back on, these main sim thing here, you can see the explosions are pretty small, right? This is these tiny little explosions. At least they start small. Something real like that size. So when I'm doing this, I want them to be kind of like that size. So I'm going to say show all objects. Let's see how low do we need to go to get it to be about that size. Pretty small. Pretty small. So maybe something like that. As you can see, there to there, that seems about right. Maybe even like come back up. Nah, that's too much. So, you can play with this for a while. I'm going to do something like that. We're going to want to have a lot more rows and columns. Oops. And also I'm going to hide that stuff. We don't need to see that anymore. So this is about the size that we want. I'm going to say do something way more than this because I want to see the actual resolution. We're going to use like noise and stuff to move this around, as we often do. So we've got lots of resolution to play with. What else do we want? We can put, let's put a sphere kind of like inside of that. I'm going to merge these together so we can, the sphere will kind of represent the area inside, like the burned area, so to speak. Let's unpin that. Let's make that about the same size, so 0.075. Maybe that's too big. And there you go, that kind of fits snugly in there. We'll go to polygon, we'll bring it up a bunch. I mean, we don't have to go crazy on the resolution with this, I guess, because it is going to be pretty small, but something like that. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to apply some universal noise to both of these things, but I'm going to want to treat these separately as I continue down this graph. So let me group the torus, and I'll just say torus. That way we can do something to it and then pull it back out again. So we'll use our old friend, the point vop, and use our old friend, turbulence noise, to do some kind of vector thing. I'll make this like a, I don't know, 3D noise. We'll add it to the position. The noise will be based on the position. Something like that. Something like that. Okay, so that's a little crazy. Maybe we probably want the frequency to be a lot higher on this. And it's way too high. Let's bring this down. Oops, something like that. I mean, I want it to be extreme. We're gonna make this pretty crazy, and then we'll bring it back. We'll convert this to a volume, and then back into actual geometry. So we don't have to really worry about all this self-intersection stuff. We may actually want to go with like simplex noise here, because I want it to like be a zero-centered thing. We can make it rough, so make it sharper. Do whatever you want here. Maybe we don't want, I guess I want it more to be jagged around the sides here, so we can break it out. We can say, turn this vector, oops, turn the vector back into some floats, like this, and we'll pass through the X and the Z. I just want to modify the Y just to make it less extreme than the... Normally, you know, I'd use lots of parameters and stuff to play with this, but this is going to be pretty limited in scope, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. This is, you know, just a little bit of icing on the cake, I think. So something like that. That looks okay. And as we, you know, we're going to want to like randomize this essentially. So we'll put like, it'll look different on every frame. Well, I guess we can't technically do that. We do have to promote this one. So I'll say, put $F here. Good. So every frame we're going to get like a different randomized crazy thing there. Cool. So like I said, let's split it. We'll split it out the torus. So the torus is coming out the left here, and then the sphere is coming out the right side here. So as I promised, let's do a VDB from polygons to actually turn this into something. And that's pretty coarse. It's getting better. Maybe go half that. Oops. That's probably good enough. Again, you know, we're gonna be pretty far away from it. So what I'm doing again here is I'm turning into a volume, and then I'm gonna convert it back into something like this. I'll turn it into polygons. So now I have this, like, you know, cool shape, essentially. Great. Let's use a box and actually cut it. I just want this to represent the gouge that it dug out of the ground. So I don't need anything that's over Y. So I'm gonna say, if this is size 1, bring the center down to -half that. That way, it's actually the top of it is along the ground. We can give it normals now, or we can give it normals after the Boolean. I'm gonna give it normals now. I'm also I'm gonna keep going back over here to steal stuff from this setup. We're gonna want this same thing here. I could just grab the whole 3. This would be a good time, I think, to go back to having both of these things. Reload current desktop. Now I've got both. So I'm gonna work in debris scar over here, and then we can copy stuff from over here as we see fit. So we want to, because we're going to use this to Boolean in a moment, we want to have the outside, oops, let me make sure we're getting the outside one. Yeah, we're getting the outside color, material, and normals. Although we want to give the normals to everything. And we're going to use that to intersect with a Boolean the thing on the right. So just make sure intersection is selected, which of course it is. And then we'll just do that intersection. And there we go. We got our cool intersection. I'm going to say don't detriangulate, as we might need it. Also, this box actually, so our surface here is pretty unappealing. Let's actually say with the box that it has some subdivisions. The subdivisions will basically come through in the Boolean. So something like that. Just makes me feel better to have that kind of more regular pattern. Great. So we got that working. We can also take a clue from this side here and do this on the other side. So this color should be, actually that was the wrong one. We want the brown one on this side. So this, I'll take these 3, kill that, put that here instead. So this should be that's the out color. Which one was this? we want, oh, that was that side. That's funny. All right, well, at any rate, so grab those three. We want this again to represent the inside of the earth, so to speak. Here we go. So it has the right color, the right material. And now when it comes to the Boolean, it comes out the other side looking correct. Or, you know, we could use the B inside A and assign these things afterwards. But at any rate, this is perfectly fine for now.